Hey everyone, how's it going? Can you believe that the PlayStation 4 has already turned 1 year old? What the hell, man? Time is flying. It's getting crazy. Anyways, I'm going to be doing 3 videos. This one starting today, where I talk about the PlayStation 4 and sort of my first year with the platform, some of my thoughts, some of my fears, maybe some predictions, we'll see. And then I'll do the Wii U because that's actually 2 years old. And then wrap it up with the Xbox One, which also turned 1 year old. And if you go by the dates of when these were released, that should be about right. So, PlayStation 4. Well, let's start with some of the basic stuff. So let's start with like the user interface, the dashboard, and then we'll talk about some games, and then maybe some predictions or some fears I have, or whatever. So we'll see where this goes. So hardware-wise, there's been some SKUs released. There's been a couple of special editions and things like that, but primarily the PlayStation 4 that was released at launch is more or less the same PlayStation 4 that exists right now. They haven't really done any major revisions in the first year. They haven't done anything too wild or crazy, but there has been some special editions. There's been some bundles. There's things like that, the general stuff. And in terms of the firmware, believe it or not, compared to the PlayStation 3, the PS4 has been relatively quiet. There was just a big firmware release which introduced this new thing, Share Play, whereby if a friend of mine wants to play a game that I own, that they can actually essentially borrow my game through the internet and play it even if they don't have a copy, which has been really cool. At least it's a really interesting feature. I haven't actually used it myself, and that's what this video is going to be more about, okay? It's going to be a very personal video about my time with the system. So I'm not going to go into tons of detail on a whole wide assortment of features that have been announced or whatnot if I'm not particularly fond of them, or if I'm not using them, okay? So one of the big things that kind of annoyed me with the PS4 since the beginning has been the lack of external hard drive use, and that's still there. Even with the big firmware update that hit, you still cannot plug in an external hard drive and save all your games to that hard drive, like a 3 terabyte hard drive or something crazy like that. And I'm really disappointed with that, because what I noticed is that when you delete your game, you also delete all the patches and stuff. And that sucks, because if I want to experience these games in the future and I don't have them saved on my system, well then I'm screwed. I'm going to get all these gimped versions of these games. So I'm really hoping that in whatever next update comes out for the PS4, that Sony actually takes heart with that and listens to the fans who are asking for external hard drive support, because it's annoying. It would be really, really useful to have that, because I have a lot of games already on the PlayStation 4 and I am running out of space. I think I can save 2 or 3 more games and then that's it. I've completely used up the hard drive space, and I'm kind of concerned about that. Anyways, in terms of the dashboard, they fixed a few things. You no longer have billions of tiles all over the place that just go on and on forever. Now I believe, I could be mistaken, I think it's 15 they said, that stay there, and then whatever your active apps are the ones that you use the most, and then the rest get shoved into your library. It's something like that. Maybe it's 5, I don't know. Anyway, whatever. The point is that it doesn't go on and on and on and on forever and ever and ever. So that's cool, that's smart. So you don't have just this endless string. Multimedia features are still more or less lacking. They did add support for MP3s, but you still can't just plug in an external hard drive that might have a bunch of videos and music and things like that and have everything work flawlessly. It still doesn't work. The internal memory of the system is pretty garbage in the sense of remembering things. For example, if I tell a Blu-ray I do not want it to connect to the internet, it's going to constantly ask me that with every new Blu-ray I want. The HDCP, the copy protection through HDMI, that's another one that is crazy annoying. What happens there is you shut it off, right? But if you put a Blu-ray movie in, it's like, oh, sorry, you can't play this Blu-ray. You have to activate HDCP. I can't, like, come on, guys. That's retarded. You should be able to know the content that I'm putting in, scan it, and activate or deactivate HDCP accordingly. Like, I find that really kind of lame, to be honest. So those are some of the concerns that I have that are still ongoing. In terms of the overall like usefulness of the dashboard, it's very good. I think they did a good job with that. It's very simple to use. Some people look and be like, oh, it's a mess or whatever, but I really do. I think it's really easy to navigate. Get to your trophies, get to your friends list, get to the system settings, go around. It's pretty simple. It really is. It feels like a game machine. I just wish that some of the multimedia features were up and running. And speaking of games, that's the thing that PlayStation 4, ironically enough, has actually been lacking. It's definitely my go-to system for this generation so far in terms of third-party titles, because typically they have a better frame rate and a higher resolution. I know it's not the end of the world, but if you're going to pay the same price for two games, why wouldn't you get the one that has the higher resolution and the better frame rate? Right? That seems like a no-brainer. But ironically enough, the first-party titles have actually been really lacking. There really hasn't been many first-party titles where I've gone, oh wow, must have. Drive Club was a little bit disappointing, didn't really live up to the hype. Infamous was a fun game from what I played. I didn't play much of it. Last of Us was spectacular, great upscaled version of the PlayStation 3 Classic. Excuse me. But that's it. Like, The Order was supposed to be out this fall, but that's been delayed into next year. We've got Little Big Planet 3 coming out later this year, hopefully. But that's about it. Like, the big games are all going to hit in 2015. And that kind of surprises me, considering the sales of the PlayStation 4 have just been incredible. It's been wrecking face. So, yeah. I've pretty much used my PlayStation 4 for mainly third-party titles. Whatever game has come out, I've pretty much purchased it for that. Things like Tomb Raider, Alien Infestation, The Evil Within, all those type of games I would normally have bought for the Xbox brand, I've now purchased for the PlayStation brand in this generation because, well, they run better. So, yeah. Absolutely love the controller. It's been amazing. It's actually, I think, my favorite controller of this current generation. It's been a year in now. Although I gotta mention something. My controller that came with my system is faulty. I've got issues with the analog stick for whatever reason, so I picked up another one and it's perfect. I don't know what happened there. Build quality is questionable. And overall, I would say that right now, a year in, my biggest surprise has been the lack of first-party titles from Sony that have really wowed me. But like in terms of exclusives and things like that. Destiny was really impressive. Had a really good time with it. Like I said, the third-party stuff, which Destiny is, I've been going primarily with PlayStation 4. Now, I should also mention indie releases. There's been a lot of really top quality indie releases. Some really good stuff has been released on the PS4. Another thing I want to mention is the the PlayStation Plus subscription. Some really great games have been offered, primarily download titles for the PlayStation 4, but there have been some exceptions here and there. And the service as a whole has been really, really impressive. I got to give it to them. In terms of a subscription service, they're doing really good. For one price, you get a bunch of games for PS3, PS4, PlayStation Vita, all for free. As long as you remain a subscriber, you're yours to play. And I gotta say, that's been really, really, really good. And so, yeah, that's pretty much my recap of the last year. Nothing truly stand out in terms of exclusives that I would say, oh man, must play. If you haven't played The Last of Us, that would obviously be the exception. In terms of the future, where we're going, I'm really hoping they fix that hard drive problem so that I could buy an external hard drive and just have all my games ready and installed when I want to play them. And but I think Sony is going to be in a very good position moving forward for 2015 in particular. I mean, we've got Uncharted. As long as that doesn't get delayed, I think that Sony's really going to do some real damage next year. They're still at the $400 price point, and they don't really need to move from that. The $399 price point has been really good for them, and I think they're going to stick with that for the foreseeable future anyways, unless Microsoft now, I mean, my goodness, Microsoft's been doing bundles like crazy. You can get an Xbox One for like $325, $350, something like that, with games and a whole bunch of stuff. So I mean, that obviously is going to probably hurt or creep into Sony's market share a little bit. So maybe next year we will see some maybe like a minor price reduction, or maybe some new SKUs, or who knows. But I think as a whole, right now, this is Sony's generation to lose. If they were going to have a slow year, this was the year to have it, because in terms of games, because the sales have just been incredible. They've been off the hook. So, if you were able to do that with very limited first-party exclusive titles, and you were basing everything on third-party games running better than your competition, then I think moving into the next year, I think they're going to be in a very, very good position to really continue to do really, really well, particularly once their exclusives start to ramp up next year. And so, yeah, there we go. That's 1 year later for the PlayStation 4. I cannot believe it's already been a year. And I think I'm going to continue to do this as every year goes on in the console's life, to talk about some of the things that have changed, some of the things I like, some of the things I don't like. Right now with the PlayStation 4, about the only thing that I really don't like, that's been really annoying to me, is that external hard drive. Everything else, I mean, there are a few, nitpicks. Like I said, with the multimedia stuff, it would be nice, but my TV has those features built in, so it's not the end of the world. But it would be nice. It would be. But the external hard drive thing is really, really key. And also, I really hope that we get more games moving forward. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the PlayStation 4. For those that have purchased the PlayStation 4, what are some of your best memories maybe from the past year? What are a couple things that have been annoying you that you'd like to see Sony address? And just overall, what are your thoughts of the PlayStation 4? So join me next time, where I will be doing a 2-year recap of the Nintendo Wii U, and then I will wrap this up with a 1-year retrospective on the Xbox One. So thanks for joining, and see you in the next one.